The roller coaster of a season continues and has us wondering, is anyone truly dominant in this league? We thought for sure there were some NFC powerhouses, but LA, Philly, and Detroit all handed big fat L's in Week 13. And as for the AFC, New England remains tried and true, but how much stock can we actually put in them? So where do we go from here? We're discussing it all right now with Chalk and Chat.
From Las Vegas, this is Chalk and Chat. Sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
Welcome into Chalk and Chat. I'm Mariah Janos. Week 13 has left us more confused than ever. The dogs were barking, the unders were cashing, giving us quite a bit to discuss today. And who is this us I speak of? Well, let me tell you. I called New England tried and true, and that is also a great way to describe this guy. The stat master, the handicapping king, whatever you want to call him, it's Teddy Covers. And next to him, first Thursday of the month, calls for a VIP guest, the knower of sportsbook's deepest, darkest secrets. It is Jay Kornegay of the Superbook at the Westgate, Las Vegas. Hello, Jay.
Hello.
Welcome into the studio. It's always so good to have you here. All right, coming up on today's show, we're going over Week 13, and while it may have our heads spinning, it certainly had the books smiling, especially on Thanksgiving. Plus, the legitimacy of teams continues to be called into questions by our guys, so they're going to give us the best approach to betting the home stretch of the regular season. And of course, we're putting Jay on the hot seat for a little Q&A, rounded out by our best bets. So much to get into. We had football on more days than usual last week, which is always a treat. But that Thanksgiving Day, the books were certainly thankful for that one, Teddy.
Sure, Thursday and Friday, really. They were pretty good. There were 4 games, and there were 4 underdogs, not just covering, winning outright, which kills all the parlays, all the money line parlays. And when a book goes into the Sunday without any liability, that's usually a good thing. But Green Bay, Dallas, Cincinnati, Chicago, all winning outright Thursday and Friday over Thanksgiving. That had to be good for the Westgate.
Yeah,
for the
Jay,
house.
you guys jumping for joy over there?
Well, yes, Teddy just explained it all. I think he read my memo to our executives on Friday afternoon. But it was exactly that. We started off great, Green Bay beating Detroit, and then we get Philly going down to Chicago to cap the first 2 days. And Teddy's exactly on point. It knocked out every parlay, so we didn't have any liability going into Sunday.
We love that. And then also the unders as well.
Sure. And then I got to ask you, was this the best Thanksgiving weekend or the best Thursday, Friday of Thanksgiving, let's say this century for the books? I mean, did you guys really clean up at that level? Because it felt like every decision, and they were all big ones, went in favor of the house.
Well, Thanksgiving used to be a huge, gigantic weekend for us 20, 25 years ago. But it really kind of tailed off a little bit over the last 10, 15 years. It was like, where did everybody go? Because that was one of our biggest fears, was Thanksgiving, and that all the favorites would cover going into Monday night. It could be a disaster for the books. But, this is our first Black Friday game, when I believe it is, and it was a big winner for us. I'm not going to say it was the biggest one, because just going back in the day, I'm talking about early 2000s, we used to have some huge, gigantic action, and it's kind of spread out now. I know it's all clear across the country, but I talked to other bookmakers as well, and it was a solid day, but not the best ever.
Interesting. Okay. And I assume just because of, you say 25 years ago, that's when you guys had like the biggest Thanksgivings. It was all surrounded by that. That has to just go with the expansion of legalized sports betting, I assume, right? And just people being able to bet weekly that what's this Thursday compared to any other Thursday?
It baffled us when it was happening.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s, that was one of our biggest fears, is that Thanksgiving weekend when all the favorites covered, it would all accumulate, go into Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night. And, there's still some of that concern. But when we won that first game this past Thursday, Green Bay winning outright, it was just...
we can all breathe.
Yeah. We didn't celebrate, but we kind of exhaled a little bit. So.
Right, which is always nice. You want to enjoy your holiday. You don't want to stress out too much. But as we were saying, also, unders. Cashing big time.
Sure, unders on Sunday. It was 7-3 to the under before the late game where the overtime sent it over. That's brutal when you have the under in a game like that and it goes to OT and like under, you get to rip up that ticket. Favorites winning but not covering: Tampa, Miami, Denver. That's usually good for the house, I'm sure. Dogs winning outright: Houston winning at Indy, Carolina winning versus LA, New York winning versus Atlanta. That's usually good for the house, Jay. But the chalk-eating weasels, as we like to call them, the guys that, laying the big price, well, Jacksonville won by 22 against Tennessee. San Fran by 18 against Cleveland. Seattle by 26 against Minnie. LA by 17 against Las Vegas. New England blowed over the G-Men on Monday night. Those games probably not as good for the house. Jay.
That's exactly right, Teddy. We were doing really well, cruising into the Sunday afternoon, but all 3 Sunday afternoon favorites won. So all those chasers were rewarded.
Right.
They did really, really well. And so it was really good until that point. Not the best ever, but very, very good until the Sunday afternoon games when all 3 favorites covered.
You hate when the bad behavior is rewarded, right? They're like
chasing,
trying to get out of it, and it just ends up working out. Everything you're not supposed to do, well, it worked out for them. All right, we're just getting started here on Chalk and Chat. Coming up, you'd think by now we'd be able to clearly separate the contenders from the pretenders, but stacking dubs ain't easy in this league. We're getting into it next.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
We're going to be going around asking people if they had to pick 3 teams to win it all. At this point in the season, you got a pretty good idea of who it could be. Who is it?
It's the hardest hitting question we've asked so far this year.
It's like the first good question we've ever asked.
Let's see what they say.
So, 3 teams that you think could win it all this year.
Indianapolis, Detroit, Los Angeles.
The NFC Los Angeles, don't get it twisted.
Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and Baltimore.
Philadelphia,
Yep.
Detroit, and that's 2. I'm going to give you 2.
All right, perfect.
And not Kansas City, right?
No Kansas City this year.
Amen.
Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Green Bay.
You look like a grizzled veteran from the middle of the country. Are you from that part?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
There you go. 3 Rivers, grinding it out, greasy, grimy. You think they can get it done this year?
Greasy, grimy. Yeah, we're greasy and grimy for sure.
Philadelphia, Buffalo, and Detroit.
Simple, to the point. We love it.
Miami, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh.
We don't trust Tua. He needs medication or something, right?
I think I'd probably take the field. I think it's a little bit more wide open this year, especially newer teams in the AFC this season, so it's a little harder to pinpoint. If I had to pick 3, I'd probably take Buffalo. I'd take Los Angeles out of the NFC. I'd take Philadelphia. I think Baltimore is lurking. I think they're very dangerous if they get into the postseason. And there's some other good teams. I like Seattle. I like Detroit. I don't know about those other younger teams in the AFC. I think they're probably a year away.
All right, we got to wrap this up because Jack has to go to the bathroom. But overall,
let's do this stuff.
Overall, the general consensus, Philadelphia, a lot of Detroit as well.
A lot of recency bias stuff. I mean, Philadelphia a month ago couldn't beat anybody. Now everybody's decided they're going all the way. So, yeah, and a few Pittsburghs. So, and some Detroits. A lot more Detroits than I thought.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just see what happens. Okay, so we shot that 2 weeks ago, and it's crazy what has happened since then. It was like all those people gave their answers very NFC heavy with the LAs and the Detroits and the Phillies. And then since then, those teams have not been winning. Jay, I got to ask you, because you did not weigh in on this conversation last week, whether it's your opinion or you want to go off the power rankings, 3 teams right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
I still have LA up there.
Yep.
They're number 1. It looks like New England has a really good chance of getting home field. Yes. I'm not a believer.
Okay.
I'm not going to go over there.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying that they have the easiest path
right.
to home field advantage. So that would be tough to go up there and beat them. Then you just have a slew. Like John said, the field. I'll take the field.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
you look at Green Bay. You look at Buffalo is still lurking. I think
You only get 1.
Okay, only 1?
Well, 3.
More.
You get 3.
He has
All right.
New England already, and he has LA already.
LA.
Right. All right. I'll go LA, New England, Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Mm.
Okay. Okay.
Is that all right?
I don't hate it. I like it. There's more. It's more of a mix-up than the other answers we've gotten because you and Jack were pretty aligned.
Sure.
So that's a fun little switch-up, and I'm glad New England squeaked by there. But we've got to talk about this. The inconsistency week after week, just when you're buying in on a team, they lose when they're heavily favored. We saw that with a number of teams. So let's just go down the list here of like who's real, who's not real. I don't even know if we can actually answer that question, but we can do our best. Let's start with New England. You know what, you guys, we'll start there. You talk about the strength of schedule. A lot of people are naysaying. I still think a win is a win. It's not easy to win in this league. I don't care who you're going up against. You saw what Carolina was able to pull out last week against LA. Things happen. So you're still iffy on New England. We know their true colors will show come the postseason, but your thoughts, Teddy?
Well, New England, yes, they have a win on the road at Tampa, and yes, they have one against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. But from a strength of schedule standpoint, New England is most assuredly the least battle-tested of any of these teams, and it's hard to trust a team that is not battle-tested against the toughest competition. No, this is the year where nobody's real, including New England.
Okay. Jay, do you want to?
Well, you're talking to a Bronco fan here.
That's true.
So there you go. It's like
do you
Denver,
believe in Denver?
Somewhat.
Good defense, but that offense is a little.
I would believe in Denver and New England if I was assured home field. Okay. At least a little bit more.
Gotcha.
I'd have a little bit more confidence if I knew that they were going to get home field advantage. But looking at the futures, right? I mean, there's a lot of good numbers there.
Right.
I mean, if you have a feeling about Chicago or San Francisco's still lurking. They're starting to get healthy. Look at Detroit now. They've dropped up from the top 3 now all the way to 25-1. Yeah. So there's some really good future betting out there. You know, it's very wide open as the odds would indicate there. But if you have a favorite or a team that you're thinking that can, make a run, take a look at the rest of the schedule, kind of look through the playoff possibilities, those scenarios, you might have some good bargains there.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at those numbers. Seattle still shocks me. Sam Darnold is still just an enigma to me. I think he puts on these performances, but I still don't know if I can fully buy into him. KC, I'm sorry, I'm writing them off. Houston is another interesting one as they're heating up down the stretch here. Their defense is insane. But with these ups and downs, Teddy, how do you approach betting out the rest of the regular season?
That's a great question, because there's an old horse racing adage that says when the money's being split between the two favorites, look for a long shot. Mm-hmm. And from an odds perspective, I don't want the favorites this year. I mean, literally, there's vulnerability for all of them. You talk about Baltimore. Baltimore's not healthy. Lamar Jackson's not healthy, period. Buffalo still has defensive issues, significant defensive issues. KC, we talk about how we're writing off KC. This is not a championship caliber team that Andy Reid has this year. So the favorites in the AFC are dicey. In the NFC, Philly has team chemistry concerns. Detroit can't win a game all of a sudden. Seattle, nobody trusts Sam Darnold. I don't trust Sam Darnold against a good defense. You're talking about San Fran. San Fran doesn't feel like a team that's primed to win a big game this year. And you're going on and on down the line. Tampa banged up. Green Bay with losses that they shouldn't have on their resume. Dallas has been mediocre for much of the season. I'm calling it the year where no one's real, Jay. And when there's no one real,
you look into the dogs?
Yeah, you take some long shots. You take some shots with some long shots.
Well, you look at the top 15 teams.
Yeah.
We're talking 15.
The half of the league. We're looking at half of the league, yeah.
We are at week 14.
That's
and
crazy.
we can look at half the teams that possibly have a shot. But I mean, Teddy just made a case against almost every one of those teams.
I can make more cases.
But it's accurate. But it's accurate.
No, it is.
Every team has something going on.
Yeah.
They have some issues or some weaknesses, and that's what's making this season so special.
It's fun. It's super fun. I love it. Casey's out of the conversation. We don't have the old reliables. You thought it was Buffalo's year. You really don't know at this point. So it's all up in the air, and it's all good stuff. All right, still to come on Chalk and Chat. Jay is going on the hot seat. He's filling us in on what really goes on behind the scenes of the sportsbook. Q&A with Jay is next.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
Hey, what do you say? Time for Q&A with Jay Kornegay.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, goodness.
That was Teddy's first time seeing it, and I'm just glad that he could witness the magic that is Jack and I performing. He always has to find a way into the show, even when he's not here. And Jay, I know you appreciate it.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Not many people get their own jingle around these parts.
Magical.
Yeah.
And a xylophone jingle.
A xylophone.
Not just any jingle.
I had Alyssa bring in her baby's xylophone, and I said, we are going to town with this one. All right, so let's get into it. Q&A with Jay. This is the time we get to grill Jay. We're going to go back to last week really quick when I spoke with John Murray, and I was looking specifically at that Dallas-Philly game. And Philly was favored by 3.5.
3.5.
3.5. Just with the way the season was going and everyone was on board with Philly winning it all at that point, I was like, why is this line so short? And he was like, you think it's easy to lay 3, whatever. And he said, the book was going to be big Dallas fans on Thanksgiving. When you know that you really need one specific side to win or at least cover, why not adjust the line accordingly?
We get that asked quite often,
Yeah.
at least a couple times every year about that. And I'll try to explain it the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, these lines are really geared towards sharp money. All right, they're geared towards the respected bettors.
Mm-hmm.
The power rankings are based off of that. As far as the public money, we always know what the public's going to do, and we're willing to take that chance if the public is on one side or the other. I can pretty much go through every game on the schedule and tell you what side the public is going to be on. The big question is, what side are the respected bettors going to be on? Because those power rankings, those lines are set towards those sharp players. And so we'll be willing to let the public play, but we will move it. I mean, we can move it if there's a $10,000 bet. We could probably move it. We have that choice.
Right.
But then we might have $50,000 worth of public money that won't move the line. Does that make sense?
No, it does, but it's just so weird when it's like one respected person putting in a lump sum, and then you've got everybody else putting in way more than that, all together, and it still doesn't do anything.
Right. Well, it will do. It depends.
Right.
You look at it, and you got to find a comfortable number for you.
How do you gauge? So, say, you have some sharp bettors placing wagers. How much do you move the needle on? Like, how much does that move the needle? Do you move it a point? Are you moving it half a point? How do you gauge how much you're going to move it?
Well, most of the time it's a half a point.
Okay.
We wouldn't move it a point unless it was a college game with a big spread or something like
Gotcha.
that. However, it's based off respect, history. We know that the sharper bettors are a bigger, I'm not going to say threat, but it's something that we definitely have to consider their opinions, because they're really sharp guys out there, and we respect them. And they make one wager, we can certainly move it a half point, but we could have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of others that are on the other side, and that's just fine with us.
So you talked about how you can look at a Sunday card and know which games are likely to attract the public attention. How many games do you get balanced action? Because the theory is always, we set the line to get balanced action on both sides. How many games do you really get balanced action on, and how many games do you end up having a rooting interest for on a typical Sunday?
Almost every single game we have. We need somebody, Teddy.
So
yeah, it's very rare. I mean, there's some smaller decisions, and everybody, every operator's a little different. It could be, a $50,000 decision, which might be peanuts to some operators, and then there's $10,000 decisions that we're just kind of okay, it's not a big decision, but we know that because the public is going to bet on the perceived better team, that means they're betting the favorite, so we need to knock out one or two of those, and we're going to be just fine. But once they start snowballing, those favorites coming in, like we talked about for Thanksgiving weekend, that's our biggest concern, is that they just kind of roll up, and by the time we get to Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, we haven't had that big upset or that outright upset. Yeah. I guarantee you that we have a huge decision on that Sunday night. But it's a comfortable factor. You got to figure out where you want to be. Is a $10,000 decision, $100,000 decision, a $500,000 decision? Where is your comfort level?
Gotcha. Okay, well, so if you ever have questions why you're not aligned with the book, it's because they don't respect you. That's the moral of the story here. Okay, finally on Chalk and Chat, best bets are next, and we've got not one, not two, but we've got 3 freebies for you. Jack had to find a way to insert himself into this one, aside from our beautiful Q&A with Jay jingle. Stick around.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It's time for Best Bet. So we are going to start with our guest of honor, Jay. Your best bet for this weekend slate.
All right, it's more or less going against a team.
Gotcha.
I'm going against Washington.
Okay.
They just put their hearts into that game against Denver last week, and to come up short, all right, and then playing a Minnesota game, or in Minnesota. Minnesota is a team that needs to regroup a little bit, but I think they are. They're very well coached. So I'm going to take Minnesota -1 against Washington.
Interesting. Okay, Teddy?
Good number. I'm going to take Jacksonville plus the points against Indy. And people aren't talking about Danny Dimes and the injury that he's had. He's not
Fibula.
Yeah, so he's still playing.
So bad.
But he's less effective. We got the Sauce Gardner injury. We have the series history where Indy's lost the last 10 meetings in Jacksonville. And Liam Cohen's team's on the rise, 4-1 straight up the last 5. The only loss came in a game they were leading 29-10 in the fourth quarter. Jacksonville plus the points.
Yeah, when he said he was still playing despite having a fractured fibula, or is it tibia? It's one of the two. Either way, I don't know anatomy, but that doesn't sound good. Anyways, okay, so we have little Jack here for his pick. He says Houston under 41. Houston's 5-1, hit the under in the last 6. KC 6-1 went under in the last 7. So he's expecting that game to go under as well. Obviously, we talked about Houston's defense, Casey's lack thereof this year. But that will do it for this episode. Thanks so much for hanging with us. For Jay, Teddy, myself, and Jack, have a good one.